Ladies and gentlemen, the American economy is about to crash and nobody is paying enough attention. It is a stark and undeniable fact that we must all take to heart. The student loan crisis is just not a concern for those who hold student loans. It is a pressing issue that affects every single American. Whether you have student loan debt or not, the reality is this: if our economy fails, it fails for all of us. The repercussions of a student loan crisis could plunge our nation into a recession. This is not merely a personal problem. It is a national problem that demands our immediate attention. Consider this, if you will. American students embarked on their college journeys with a promise made by the federal government. They took out loans with the understanding that upon graduation, they would enter into a deal that would allow them to repay those loans through affordable options. This was not just a financial transaction, it was an agreement based on trust. It was the government investing in the student. By limiting repayment options, the United States government is not just changing the rules, it is breaking that promise, reneging on the very agreement that allowed these students to pursue their dreams in the first place. Imagine the weight of that betrayal. Over $1.7 trillion in student loan debt weighs heavily on the shoulders of millions of Americans. This staggering figure represents dreams deferred, futures delayed, and aspirations crushed under the weight of financial obligation. In the greatest nation on earth, we have created a system where the pursuit of knowledge and opportunity has become an albatross around the necks of our youth, the exact opposite of its intentions. Education was supposed to be the financial ticket to one's financial future. At least that's what we were taught. Repayment plans were designed as a lifeline, a promise that no borrower would be left to drown in a sea of unmanageable debt. But what happens if we as a nation limit these options? What happens if we turn off the spigot of hope? The implications could be catastrophic. Imagine a tidal wave of defaults crashing against the shores of our economy, leaving devastation in its wake. The consequences would not merely ripple through the lives of individuals, they would reverberate across the very fabric of our nation. When borrowers find themselves unable to meet their obligations, we will witness a dramatic decline in consumer spending, the lifeblood of our economy. Consumer spending constitutes 70% of the United States GDP. With credit scores plummeting and access to loans evaporating, the American dream of home ownership and starting businesses will slip through our fingers like grains of sand. A decline in this critical area could plunge us deeper and deeper into recession. A recession deeper than we have ever known, sending shockwaves through businesses large and small. The financial collapse of 2008 all over again. But this crisis will not be confined to our borders. The United States is the engine of global economic growth. If we falter, the world will feel the tremors. Investors, those vigilant guardians of capital, will flee at the first sign of our instability, pulling their investments from the United States markets and leaving us gasping for breath. The loss of confidence in our economy could trigger a cascade of failures in economies around the globe, and as nations tethered to our fortunes find themselves adrift in uncertain waters. And let us not forget the governmental implications. The federal government, already shackled by a staggering national debt exceeding $31 trillion, would be forced to intervene. We would see taxpayer dollars redirected to manage the fallout, pulling out a generation that simply sought to better itself through education. This could mean cuts to essential services and programs that millions rely upon, deepening the very inequalities that we strived to eradicate through education. As we navigate this storm, we must consider the social ramifications as well. Education, once the great equalizer, risks becoming a tool of oppression. If we allow individuals to be trapped in a cycle of debt and despair, we will entrench economic divides that threaten the very core of our democracy. A generation of talented minds, once brimming with potential, will find themselves shackled to debt, unable to contribute to society in meaningful ways. We need comprehensive reform, bold, decisive action that addresses the existing debt crisis and ensures that future borrowers are not ensnared in a similar trap. Expanding options is not just a band-aid. It is a lifeline that could prevent defaults and restore hope. But it must be coupled with increased funding for education, better financial literacy programs, and a fundamental reevaluation of how we approach higher education finance. The current system does not work. We are at a critical juncture. The implications of limiting repayment options extend far beyond the individual borrower. They threaten the very stability of our economy and the promise of opportunity for generations to come. This is a call to arms, a plea for action. Together we can forge a path that leads to a brighter future, one where education is an opportunity as it was intended, not a burden. Let us rise to this challenge, for the stakes could not be higher. Ladies and gentlemen, with that said, may God bless you, may God bless your families, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Good day and good night.